just to start off with the Q&A, we really just wanted to start by addressing just to start with one question. We'll get on to some more of the artistic ones. But with, there's been a lot going on in the States right now, and as well here and around the world. So a lot of the protests and things. And so I was going to ask one of our artists that's based in New York to maybe talk to us a little bit about those protests and what they mean and what they stand for. So Brandon, would you mind sharing a little bit with us?
Sure.
Great. I'm going to put it on speaker view so we can see you, or I can pin you there. Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Good to go?
Yeah, I think so. I think for the viewers, they can let us know if you can't see them.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you and Paul and to About Face and to my fellow artists and everybody who's joining us here in the Zoomiverse, wherever you may be in the world, for allowing me to speak about this, what's going on here in the States. I think what you're seeing via the media is, I'm going to say this slowly and clearly so that we don't get it confused. I think you're seeing a reaction to a result of a much bigger problem than just police brutality. And what I mean by that is the media is focusing on the protests and the rioting and the looting and the curfews in response to police brutality. But police brutality is a form of systemic oppression that is a result of the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, which is white supremacy / racism. And that's what we need to focus on, because that's what we're really protesting. We're not anti the flag, we're not anti-police, we're not anti-military. Many people of color, black, brown, whatever, have loved ones who serve in the military and also serve in law enforcement and are also first responders. So that's not the narrative. That's not what we're about. We're about the fact that we've been here for over 400 years and are still being lynched and murdered in the streets. We still can't get access to housing. We still can't get loans to start businesses. We still have to deal with microaggressive racist behavior in the workplace. So all those things, or even having clean drinking water for the folks in Flint, Michigan. So that's what it's really about. Even though it's good to talk about police brutality and do that, but if you're just going to focus on that and do police reform, you're sort of pruning a tree. And we need to get to the tree, the root of the tree, and solve that problem.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I don't know if anyone has, recommendations for it, but I think that you're right. It's about getting to the root of it. So how, we need to start somewhere, right?
Right. It's good to talk about police brutality and police reform because that is a very real and tangible thing. But at the same time, if it's not going to knock out all those other issues that I mentioned, then we're going to see this again in a few more years. So why not just go ahead and eradicate or deconstruct racism and white supremacy now, so that you don't have to deal with it in 2 or 3 generations. I don't want my son to grow up and have to go through the things that I'm going.
Yeah. We don't want that either.
Yeah, so that's what we should really focus on. Although it is good to bring awareness and showing that all the protests are happening all over the world, which is a beautiful thing to see. But let's really get down to the real issue here.
Yeah. So, and this is not like fair of me to ask you because it's not like, oh, just because we've started talking, so now I'm going to ask you questions. But if someone did want to, like, maybe obviously I'm white, and if I want to learn a little bit more about what's going on or what might be inside me that I'm not even aware of, is there I've seen some good book lists and things like that. Do you think that's a good place to start, or where do you think is a good place to start?
Right. Well, that's what I think that the media should be covering, things like that's being shared on social media. I think the focus should be on that, on the re-education of the white population in America in general, because we've all been lied to, believe it or not. I know it's something that you don't want to admit, or it's hard to accept, but we've all been lied to. Black, white, Latino, Asian, you've been lied to your entire lives. You have. And white supremacy it's a form of an inferiority complex, right? So if you need to stand on my back in order for you to stand and proclaim that you're tall, you're still small.
Yeah.
You gotta address that. And that's something that we don't want to address. And I think that if you can support Black businesses, if you can have these discussions within your own communities, because we've done everything that we possibly can to get you to stop killing us. And I think what's happening is you're seeing now the 75-year-old fella who was pushed down by the Buffalo Police Department and left there. And you're seeing that, white protesters are now being tear gassed and beaten with batons. That's going on for a week. Imagine going through that for generations. Yeah. So if all lives matter, you should have been just as pissed off, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago as you are right now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, So I think if you can re-educate ourselves and do that homework and start to tear apart white supremacy and racism on an intellectual level, then we'll start to see some real change.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see, Brandon, but there's a lot of thank yous and acknowledging, the root cause and all that. So a lot of love and thank yous coming in from the audience. So I think we really appreciate, words of wisdom and calm and everything. So it looks like someone.
I see a link.
Oh, great! Thank you. Is that Aaron? Thank you. Fabulous. So Erin just put in the chat. So Erin, can you wave? Do you give it the wave? Yeah. So another one of our actors, and she's all the way in LA. So she just put a link in there, which has some great resources for some educational materials to get started. I know for us at About Face, we've been talking too, and so we hope to be making some changes. Just in our own policy and just getting to know more people that we don't know in different communities around Ireland. So we're going to look to do that. We've definitely already featured some fantastic playwrights, Black playwrights in our Great Plays gang, but we're really excited to read more because we did find it, like we had a discussion there about sweat. But not just sweat. We read it a week or a month or two ago, and it was really impactful, I think, for a lot of the people reading it. And it's perspectives that you don't always see and you don't always know.
Right.
So.
And thanks so much for being willing to talk about that and being so brave and eloquent. It's beautiful. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
I had
so
the
much.
best scene partner in Brandon, so I'm just saying that. Pretty kick-ass, guys. Sorry, no offense. Thank you.
It's so true. But I also love the fact that scene, I think, is kind of what it needs to be, right? It's like people getting to know, and it wasn't like Emily she didn't write it for that purpose, I don't think. Emily, give a wave. You're the writer. Or you might actually have to speak. Let me take it off of, okay, it's in gallery. Very good. But I just love it. It's two people getting to know, and it's like, oh, all these similarities. I know that the play was about more other things as well, but I just think that that's where we need to find and where we need to meet is in our humanity, because that, right. We all feel, we all love, and we all, I think we need to start there. So thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
So, you're getting loads of thank yous. I don't know if you can see it in the chat there. But we might, Brandon, we might have to come back and have a proper chat at some stage. So I don't know if you'd be up for that, but I think it's something that we need to keep having the chats and not just let it go,
Right. It's important that this not just be a moment, and then, once things reopen, that we do not go back to business as usual. That's very important. That this cannot just be a moment, or just something that just happens, and then we forget about it and just move on. So yes, I would be more than happy to have more discussions with you for sure.
Yes. Fantastic. Yeah. Great. Excellent. And we might have might try to get that link too off Aaron again, and we might post it at the end. We'll post it again at the end just to make sure in case it doesn't get lost. All right. Well, thank you so much for that and for getting us started off. So we do have a few questions too about the process. We have one question here about actors about acting in your own home space. Like, is that more difficult? So maybe actors, if you can raise your hand if you're happy to answer that. How did you feel about being in your own space and working from there?
Yes. I'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah, great.
Just because I live in a 500 square foot apartment with my husband and my cat, so no kids, which is helpful, I think, for this kind of process. But you know, having to like schedule time, like he had to go somewhere else today, you know, and it's not necessarily easy because nothing is open, you know. So doing the dance of finding the space was really interesting, but ultimately, I mean, I never liked getting on the train and coming into rehearsal. So it was very nice to kind of like roll into rehearsal in an easier fashion. So a little bit of pros and cons on both sides, I think.
Yeah, cool. Richard, I saw you had your hand.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, you know, given the story of the play that I was in and the fact that I'm actually hiding from my wife and trying to keep a secret from her, and I actually am married and I'm in my apartment it was actually really helpful to be like hiding in my bathroom and you know, it just made it real in a way that, you know, when you're on a set, no matter how good the set is, it always feels fake.
Yeah.
So it was really, it made it a lot easier to do the scene.
Nice. I love it. Using Kathleen.
Yeah, and I would echo. It's easy. It's great because you can get to work fast, you know, because it doesn't take long. But I had to explain to a lot of different people why there was a whole bunch of pictures of me on the back wall.
Oh yeah, sure you did.
Oh, I love it.
I suppose so I was rehearsing mainly when I was in my house in Dublin, and then I came all the way back to Kilkenny. So I'm actually genuinely in the namesake of the play. So I live in a farm, Loud, already. Anyways, and so yeah, telling my parents and my brother, and in general, it's kind of busy with different things on at the moment, and I genuinely have signs stuck on the doors being like, filming in progress, do not come in, please. Like, no. So so that's been a funny thing to do this from here, and then rehearsing in general. Yeah, like talking into a screen. Zoom is quite exhausting because it doesn't have the finesse of you being with someone and judging that reaction. So after rehearsal, I was like, I'm so tired, but and they weren't long rehearsals, and it was very generous and wonderful with us, but it's such a different medium, and you do wonder, are you getting across, because screen acting is different to theater, but this is theater on a screen. So I'm like, my brain is just like,
yeah.
I don't know. So yeah. It's been a really interesting challenge, and I can't say I didn't enjoy it. That's a really long answer.
No, but that's good because it kind of segues. I see David too. So maybe you can touch on this too, David, as you answer that question, is about how did you find also the medium? So talking about your surroundings, but also how working in this medium was for you.
Well, I suppose the thing was actually this evening was sitting on your sofa waiting for the digital curtain to go up. It was very surreal. Like you're sitting on your sofa, and you know you're literally waiting for it to go like this, and it was just very surreal. It was very odd. The nerves are exactly the same. You know, you're still sort of rustling, looking at a script which you know inside out, backwards, and everything else, but you're still going, crap, what's that? Oh, yeah, okay, right, and oh crap, we're on. You know, and it's that sort of so it was a mix of the usual, the nerves and the worry, but at the same time you're on your sofa and looking over top of the computer at your mantelpiece with your family photographs on them, and like, you know, the way Richard was saying, like, you know, it's being in the loo, hiding from your wife is, you know, it was an excellent process to be, whereas it was just, you know, I felt like I was on a fake set in my house. oddly.
Yes,
But yeah,
a good
so,
fake
yeah,
set.
so,
Yeah.
so sorry, that was my take on.
No, yeah, I love it. And Kate, you had a response too, and then I'm going to ask some of the writers how they felt working in this format. Kate?
The home thing is interesting because when we were in practice last time, we were about to kick off and my dog went running into the street, so I had to just go get my dog. But I got rid of my family largely today. But the thing I was going to say is that for a lot of certainly actors of TV and film, certainly in New York, I don't know, I'm sure in Los Angeles it's the same, and I don't know about over in Ireland, but we've been doing so much self-taping, which means that you literally get the material to do your audition. And what I'm looking at right now is my cell phone, which is on a little doohickey with a round light called a ring light on a tripod. And, you know, we do self-tapes all the time now. It's apparently going to be the way going forward. I was speaking with the lovely gal at Playwrights Horizon yesterday, and she was saying even theater stuff might be self-taping. So it's sort of this kind of a thing. While it's not live, this is a familiar kind of setup for me.
Yeah.
Prefer the live, not surprising.
Yeah. I know it's so weird to be like, for me, I just wanted to even just be in our presence all together once before we went off, and it's very hard to not have that, like, I'm so tactile and not have that ability to be with each other. So for the playwrights, just so you know, the playwrights were how it happened is we actually drew names out of a hat. So the playwrights were assigned actors just randomly, and so then they were given the actors headshots, and then they were given 1 week to write a 3-minute play. Now this is no small feat, a 3-minute play, and then we had a read through. We made some edits. Rehearsal made some more edits, but that was the process for our playwrights. So for our playwrights, how did you feel in this format? Give a wave if you're happy to write, Neil. Yeah, or write. Yes, obviously to answer. I'll ask you to unmute. There you go.
Right. So one of the weirdest things for me is like when sitting down is just like trying to figure out if I'm writing a screenplay or a stage play, because it's this weird kind of like it's almost like a new medium. So it's kind of it's hard to figure. Sorry, my son is just photobombing me there. So that was kind of the actual process of writing it was very, very easy. It actually just came to me I was just in the shower, and it just kind of like just the idea popped into my head, and then the dialogue started coming, and I knew once Paul is just fantastic at playing villains. He's just got a certain,
really nice in real life, though.
There's six people who want to go on his golden spaceship. I'll just have you know. They want to know. They want to know how can we get a spot on Paul's golden spaceship?
The intense kind of like instant hypnotic charisma that Paul Nugent has. So once I had him in my cast, everything just kind of like grew out of that.
Cool.
It just basically just the fact that there's like a messianic con artist in the White House, kind of like there was so much irony to be like, yes, this Paul is playing this kind of like manipulative, possibly insane con artist, but he's not. It could be worse. Listening to.
Nice. Okay, Matt. Yeah.
Hi,
so this is Matt, who actually wrote the play, The Gods of the Ozarks, which would be which would be on closing night tonight. So, but we will do it again. We'll do it again.
And also, I just want to say, Kathleen, I love that you have a Gods of the Ozarks poster on your wall. That warmed my heart when I saw that. Thank you.
I was wondering if anyone noticed it. That was that Jenny or Yvonne, one of their brilliant ideas. Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I think that this process was fascinating. And Anna, I mean, hats off, all the hats off in the world. I think that I mean, it was really masterful, the direction of all of these pieces. But what I found fascinating is like for me, when I'm in a play production process, very seldom do I have to write more. It's always a matter of paring away and figuring out how much you could lean on the performers, like how much you can take away from the dialogue and just allow the performers to like embody the emotion. And in this piece, you know, it was an abbreviated form of that kind of on steroids, because, you know, you have 2 minutes, and even if you cheat and you go to 4 minutes, you still have to keep cutting away, and you kind of reach a point where there's only so much that you can communicate in a 3 or 4 minute span, particularly on Zoom, where a certain amount of time is kind of chewed up just in like the transmission and the waiting. And so you really have to pull away and just see how much like a gesture can communicate. And I was so lucky and so grateful for Kevin and Dorina, because, you know, we were able to pull away from the script and just take chunks of dialogue and just basically have them be gestures. And you could, and I could feel like their connection between each other. And I loved that. And so it was kind of this cool exercise. I didn't know how it was going to work, but that's a testament to the direction and to the performance, and to me, just with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, that's all. Just a pair of scissors. Yeah. Emily, did I see your hand up?
Yeah. Well, I just say, first of all, I felt like I won the lottery with my picks of actors, because I am from the South. So I was thrilled when I saw, so happy that I saw not only where the actors are located now, but where they are from. And the people who know me, I've spent a lot of time in Ireland, and I think that Ireland and the South are so similar. And so the play basically wrote itself. I'm like, yeah, this is how they're very much alike. The biggest challenge for me in this format, there's a couple of things. You know, as a writer, even as you're rehearsing, you hear reactions from people in the room. You hear other actors laughing. You hear crew and things like that. And so I was like, I don't know if this is funny or not. I don't know, you know, kind of the point that are working what isn't. It's hard to tell that when it's just you in your space listening. And then also just all of my dialogue generally, I like to write a lot of overlapping lines, a lot of people cutting each other off, a lot of saying things at the same time. And that is just really almost impossible on Zoom. But because of the way, even if more than one person speaks at once, the sound drops out. And there being a second or so delay between people picking up lines. So that determined, I did a lot of my rewrites based on kind of, I can't do overlapping dialogue. That was a real revelation.
Yeah, the overlapping dialogue. Yes, James.
Hey, Anna. Hi. What I found really interesting about this is, you know, how short everything is. First of all, 3 minutes is savagely short, as other people have mentioned, to write something, but it's also good for your discipline to be able to compact an idea down that much. But the other thing that was interesting to me is it's pretty rare these days for a writer, a playwright, to be told, you know, we want you to write something and it's going to be performed in 3 weeks. And so that made me think about something more in the moment than I think, at least I usually think about for these things. Even having said that, the world is spinning so fast right now that events were outstripping what I wrote within that very short period of time. You know, one of my characters goes to a rally to open up the States. If I was writing it today, she'd probably be going to a rally about everything going on in this country for the last 10 days. And that would have required changes in her character. So even, you know, with such a short, you know, glide path to taking this plane off, so much changed. And that's kind of a metaphor for our world right now for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Rachel, did you want to say anything about the process for you?
Yeah, well, I could kind of reiterate what other people are just saying, I guess, but but it was a lot about pulling back, I think. Like, I remember like rehearsing it and being like, that's too much dialogue, because I'm used to plays. But yeah, you don't have to do a lot. You just kind of can capture a lot in just a couple lines. So
yeah,
it was hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I found that with directing too. I saw some questions there about directing, and I think that's what it was too, is the economy of movement and motion. When you only have 3 minutes, you have to really focus in on the story. And you have to be careful with doing too much, because I love storytelling on stage with the body and everything, but you just have to be careful with that, because it can kind of overwhelm the story.
Exactly. You can lose focus really quickly.
Yeah.
So being really sharp with it was the challenge.
Yeah. It's a great practice. Tough. It definitely tough, but a great practice. And so, as far as the directing goes, because some people ask, for me it was just it was a great pleasure. The challenges are definitely the tech. For me, the limitations of Zoom. I wanted a blackout, and I can't have a blackout because I have to have a shared screen. That was the best we could come up with. So things like that were frustrating. I know for some people, just check what Wi-Fi, what we have in our houses. You know what I mean? We were limited to what we already had, because we weren't able to send people laptops or lighting or any of that. So that's definitely, a limitation. So quite a few challenges. I'm sure the tech team could have tell you loads of things about the challenges, because it's like, what do people have in your wardrobes? What do you have in your walls? What do you have in your house? It's all based on.
They're magicians. They're genuine magicians.
Yeah, I mean, I was so impressed by what they were able to come up with. Someone did ask if they'd be able to see the plays again, and yes, we will be releasing the plays individually over the next week on YouTube. So please do head over to our YouTube channel and follow us, and you'll be able to see them there. Someone did ask if everything was live. So there was 2 plays that we did play a live recording of, so we did record it live, but there was we just had scheduling conflicts, so we weren't able to have both of the actors in the same place tonight. So but they were recorded live.
I think Anna, it's worth pointing out that plays that we thought were going to be impossible to do live, like James's Pandemic was done live. But maybe Michael and David might like to talk about how
wearing 5 costumes.
5 layers.
Michael, you go.
5 layers in a roasting apartment. I need to sweat off my Corona belly already. So this has been a great opportunity to help do that. I always look for challenges in anything that I do, and I know that we had the conversation with Anna and Yvonne about whether we should record it or do it live. And there's always the electricity of doing it live, but there was part of me that was like, oh wait, no, there was time change and how are we going to do all that, location changes, and to their credit, the next day, and I was like, nah, we're going to do it live. And
well, fair play. Aaron was like all for it too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, Jesus. But yeah, it was. It just made it that much more fun, and learning to be dexterous about taking off layer upon layer of shirts that are sitting in a sweaty pile. Right
I know the behind the scenes would be fascinating for that, but it was like that. It seemed impossible, but then like I wanted to be able to do it, and with Aaron's like gusto, I just was like, okay, how the technical, and I was like, what if they just wore everything and just stripped quick? Yeah. So thank you guys for being willing. Thanks for being willing to go for it.
It was Aaron's, Michael and even me worse. Like, never listen to my opinion because obviously it was the wrong one. But well done, Aaron. It was your.
Well, thank you. I take all the credit.
Excellent, great. Well, I'm conscious that we could probably go on for hours because there's so many of us, but we should probably wrap it up. So I'm just trying to make sure that there's nothing we missed. I know someone is already looking for some of our lovely actors, so you can definitely contact About Face, and we'll see about being able to connect you with some of the actors, etc. And often most of them have their own web pages as well, for sure. Yes, Kathleen.
And Maggie Montani has a really good question there, and she happens to be my niece. But it's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
What small changes have you? Hi, Maggie. What small changes have you implemented in your lives to be productive and creative despite the setback of a pandemic? That's on the question there.
Great. Yes, so has anyone, Megan, how about you? We haven't heard from you, my dear. Megan, do you have any changes that you've implemented for productivity and creativity?
Yeah, first of all, I was on the internet with my clothes on, so that was a new thing for me. Everyone else was worried about peeling off their layers, and I was like, wait a minute, I have to. Okay.
Brilliant answer.
So that was an adjustment. And I think the weirdest thing is the rehearsing without actually being in the same room with the person, and that's I miss that. I would say of all the, I was probably looking forward to rehearsals more than performances because they're just always so fun, and that's when all the creativity really happens. So, but on the other hand, it worked so much better than I thought it was going to. So, lesson learned. You can do this remotely, and I have to say, Anna, you are our guiding light, our genius, our xenon. I'm sure there are angels in a spaceship ready to.
Only one xenon. She can be Xena.
Mrs. Xenon. She's Mrs. Xenon. So anyway, but you've been the guiding light through this whole process. So.
Wow, it's my absolute pleasure. And I know some of the other actors too, like Brandon kept himself, I was enjoying his work because he was keeping himself active. Brandon, do you want to say a little bit about what you were doing?
Oh yeah, sure. So what I was doing was recording songalogs, basically taking the lyrics of popular songs and doing them as monologues.
They're brilliant. Awesome. Brilliant.
That's so cool.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, you can check those out if you want to follow me on Instagram, on the gram, at The Real Boogie Jones, or on Twitter, Boogie Jones 30. But that's what I was doing to stay busy and stay creative because there's nothing else to do but play with my 3-year-old and hang out at the house.
Yay! Great. And Mo, I'm conscious that you didn't, there's a few people who that didn't really get a chance to say much. Amy too. Oh, Amy's been doing some creative stuff too. Amy, you should just say one thing, and I will wrap it up. I promise. Don't worry.
Yeah. Hi. Well, I've been building a dollhouse out of cardboard boxes and items in my home, like recycled items, bottle caps, things like that. I've done like 7 rooms, and it's almost 3 floors. So that's what's been keeping me busy.
Yes. Excellent. And is there any last words? Did I miss anyone? Yvonne or Owen, you want to speak? Jenny from the other side. Great. Well, if there's nothing else, I just want to thank all of you so much for being with us and for sticking with us for the conversation. Yeah, it's just so wonderful to have you there because even though we can't see you, we know that you're there. So thank you for participating in the discussion as well. And of course, if you have any other questions, please do email us or you can fill out a contact form on our website, which is aboutfaceireland.com. And we'd be very happy to hear from you. We're also on Instagram and Facebook and what's that other one? Twitter? On the Twitter as well.
It's MySpace, Anna.
Oh yeah, MySpace. So you can find us on all of those. And we still have yet to find out exactly how everything's going to pan up, but we're definitely going to be having some announcements and things in the future. So, and we're going to keep the conversation going that we started tonight for sure. So let's figure out how we can do that. Erin.
Don't forget to check out that link that I put in the chat, or to put it at the bottom of the chat or whatever you'd like to do. It is full of really, really amazing and interesting and positive, or not positive, but interesting resources.
Oh, thank you, Helena.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, she dropped it again, so that's it. Great. Thank you so much. And on that note, and as I said, if we missed your question, please do contact us. I'd love to answer them at some stage. But thank you to the actors, to our crew, and everything. And I wouldn't even say anything about Owen except for at the beginning with the music. I love the fact he took the. I love the fact that the music was inspired by Morse code. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyways, thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you, actors and playwrights, and Yvonne and Jenny and Owen and Tara and Charlie and Owen. So grateful. And thank you to the audience too. And you're already leaving, so that's great. All right. And I'll be stopping it here. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys,
Bye.
bye.